Hong Kong Palace Museum will open to the public on July 2nd. No change to social distancing and border control measures before the end of June amid rises in local COVID infections in recent days. And in Britain, Prime Minister Boris Johnson survives a no confidence vote held by his own Conservative Party.
Hello and welcome to TVB News. The much-anticipated West Kowloon Hong Kong Palace Museum will officially open on July 2nd.
During the first year of its opening, members of the public can visit the museum free every Wednesday, but reservations must first be made online. Timothy Lee reports.
Adorned with verses from a poem by the Qianlong Emperor, this richly decorated red vase from the Qing dynasty is among the new museum's collection. Along with an assortment of priceless artifacts from the Forbidden City, members of the public can view these treasures as early as the 2nd of next month. A total of 914 pieces of precious cultural relics will be displayed in the Hong Kong Palace Museum in turns. The museum also hosts 7 galleries with unique exhibition themes, including court life in the Forbidden City, the palace's ceramic collection, as well as Chinese art collections from Hong Kong. These will be displayed for 1 to 2 years. As for special exhibitions such as horse-related art, this will be on display for 3 to 6 months. Tickets for the museum are in 2 categories. There's a $50 general admission ticket, while a special exhibition ticket costs $120. Visitors aged 7 to 11 years old, full-time students, those aged 60 or above, and disabled individuals can get their tickets at half price. On-site ticket sales will not be available for the first 3 months. The public can make reservations online up to 4 weeks in advance, and they can do so starting next Tuesday. Bernard Chan, chairman of the Hong Kong Palace Museum Board, noted that the museum is an important step for Hong Kong to become an international cultural hub.
I mean, to be a world financial center, it cannot just be a place to make money. With Palace Museum opening together with M+, and many more other cultural offerings on the West Kowloon Cultural District, I think Hong Kong are now ready to be at the same level comparing to London and New York.
The museum expects to receive 7,000 visitors per day, but the figure has now been reduced to 5,000 because of social distancing measures. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The city today logged 489 new COVID-19 cases, including some 70 cases reported by local schools. Speaking to reporters this morning, the chief executive said it is too early to say if the 6th wave of the epidemic has started.
But Carrie Lam said her administration will try to make the conditions right for state leaders to visit the SAR on July 1st. Caleb Leung has more.
Hong Kong's daily COVID caseload has stayed at 400 to 500 cases since the beginning of June. Before today's Executive Council meeting, Chief Executive Carrie Lam said she cannot give a categorical answer on when a trend can be identified in view of the current situation.
We have witnessed an increase in the number of positive cases since the beginning of June, that is this month. Which gets us a little bit concerned. It is a bit too early to say that we are now confronting a 6th wave of the COVID-19 epidemic, because it needs a lot more indicators in order to confirm the situation.
Lam said existing border control restrictions and social distancing measures will be extended until June 29th, and her administration will liaise with the Office of the Chief Executive-elect to see if the measures will be further extended.
We cannot allow a lacuna with the transition of government. We need to wait for the new government to take office before we know how they will deal with the social distancing measures.
Lam was also asked whether the epidemic situation will affect the visit of state leaders to the SAR for the 25th anniversary of the handover. Lam said she cannot confirm at this moment that there will be a visit by the president of our country.
We are keenly looking forward to the country leaders' visit so that the country's leader can deliver remarks and give us direction on the future development of Hong Kong in the coming 5 years. We need to create the favorable conditions for this visit, but I am afraid I cannot tell you more at this stage.
This afternoon, the Center for Health Protection reported 489 new COVID infections, including 53 imported cases. Meanwhile, the international section of Kiangsu and Chekiang Primary School in North Point reported 7 new infections involving 5 students and 2 staff members. The students are in the same class. The Kowloon Tong Fun Full English Primary School reported 1 more infection among its students, bringing the cluster's tally to 13. The newly diagnosed patient is the sibling of another infected student. 12 more cases related to the Club Shuffle in Central have been recorded, totaling 97 infections. The Center for Health Protection also announced that starting today, it will not announce the number of positive cases identified by rapid antigen tests until they are verified by PCR tests. This came after the number of fake positive rapid test results has recently exceeded the center's acceptable level. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Starting tomorrow, the police will launch a counterterrorism reporting hotline. In order to encourage members of the public to make reports, authorities are planning to give a reward to those who have provided reliable information. Police say the amount of the reward will be determined by the reliability of the caller's information and its relevance to the cases. Under the current mechanism, recipients of the Good Citizen Award would be given $4,000. Rewards for tip-offs on more serious crimes, including murder, could reach between $400,000 and $800,000. The hotline is 636666999, and those who wish to make reports can call or text the number. They can also make a report through WeChat. In other news, Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has survived a vote of confidence held by his own Conservative Party and remains in office.
But the 59% of votes he received from Tory lawmakers showed there remains deep divisions within a party that has been weighed down by the Partygate scandal. Nazvi Karim has the details.
I can announce that the Parliamentary Party does have confidence.
The victory celebrations were more in relief than in glory, as Boris Johnson garnered 211 votes in support of his leadership and 148 against, with the rebels within his party forming a larger faction than expected. The margin was less than Theresa May's victory in a no-confidence vote in 2018. She resigned 6 months later. The British media is already predicting the end of the line for Johnson. The Time called him a wounded victor, while this tabloid said he was stabbed in the back by 148 Tories. Johnson, though, was unruffled, saying the victory was decisive.
I think it's a convincing result, a decisive result, and what it means is that as a government we can move on and focus on the stuff that I think really matters to people. And what this gives us is the opportunity to put behind us all the stuff that I know the media have quite properly wanted to focus on for a very long time, and to do our job.
Johnson has survived scandals before, but the latest controversy could still hurt him after a probe revealed a spate of boozy government parties during the COVID lockdowns, when Britons were unable to even visit their sick relatives. Along with tackling a rise in the cost of living, Johnson needs to act fast to win back confidence. Opposition Labour leader Keir Starmer said Tory makers failed to show any backbone.
The British public are fed up with a Prime Minister who promises big but never delivers. Fed up with a Prime Minister who's presided over a culture of lies and law-breaking. Conservative MPs made their choice tonight. They have ignored the British public.
Supporters within Johnson's party, though, stood by the Prime Minister.
It's a ballot. 50 plus 1 is a majority, right? Boris did much better than that. We draw a line and we move on because we've got 2 years to demonstrate to the nation that we can deliver on the economy.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has confirmed he will skip the Summit of Americas in Los Angeles Obrador has been pushing the U.S. to invite Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to this week's gathering. But U.S. officials determined that concerns about human rights and a lack of democracy in Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua weighed too heavily against inviting them. Leaders from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador have indicated they'll stay away too. The White House says U.S. President Joe Biden believes dictators should not be invited to the summit.
The president has to stick by his principle. He believes that he needs to stick by his principles and not invite dictators. But we can still have a fulsome conversation. The U.S. remains the most powerful force in driving hemispheric actions to address core challenges facing the people of the Americas: inequality, health, climate, and food security. And so the president continues to be a leader in the hemisphere.
New Yorkers under the age of 21 will be prohibited from buying semi-automatic rifles under a new law signed by Governor Kathy Hochul. The Democrats signed 10 gun-related bills on Monday as the state became one of the first to enact legislation following a wave of deadly mass shootings. New York's legislature passed the bills last week, pushing the changes through after a pair of mass shootings involving 18-year-old gunmen using semi-automatic rifles. After signing the legislation, Hochul told a gathering that thoughts and prayers won't fix the problem, but taking strong action will. And still ahead after the break, the Executive Council approves Hong Kong Tramway's application for a fare hike. And the Jockey Club CEO says it's mission impossible for the SAR to host equestrian events for the 2025 National Games.
Executive Council approved the application by Hong Kong Tramways for a fare hike. It is the first increase in 4 years. Starting June 11th, adult fares will rise from $2.60 to $3. Fares for those under the age of 12 will go up by 20 cents to $1.50, and senior citizens will face a 10-cent increase, with the new fare rising to $1.30. Tourist tickets that allow unlimited tram rides for 4 consecutive days will be canceled. The government says the fare hike is necessary for maintaining the Hong Kong Tramway's stable operation. They also took into consideration the continued drop in passengers and the deficit recorded last year. The Legislative Council will tomorrow resume the second reading debate on abolishing the mandatory Provident Fund offsetting mechanism.
If the bill is supported by lawmakers, it will be set for the third reading. Christy Khan has more.
The Provident Fund offsetting mechanism was first proposed by the fourth-term government led by CY Leung. After years of discussion, the government finally submitted a bill to the Legislative Council proposing to abolish the MPF offsetting mechanism by 2025. The bill stipulated that the government will provide support to employers for 25 years with a contribution of about $33 billion. After the transition date, companies can no longer use employers' mandatory contribution to offset employees' severance and long service payments. Commissioner for Labor Chris Thorne suggested that employers keep existing staff whose starting date became effective before the transition date. In these cases, employers can continue to offset the employees' severance and long service payments. Sun added he believes this is the best arrangement for both employers and employees after years of consultation with various parties. But the business sector is upset by the proposed amendments. Lawmaker Kennedy Wong criticized the government for not taking into account suggestions by the business sector. He also worries that some enterprises may choose not to hire full-time staff after the offsetting mechanism takes effect. However, legislator Dennis Leung said he believes most small and medium enterprises will be able to cope with the changes as long as the pandemic situation in Hong Kong is under control. Christy Khan, TVB News.
The 2025 National Games will be co-organized by Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. The head of the Hong Kong Jockey Club revealed it's mission impossible for Hong Kong to host equestrian events for the Games, even when it's seen as the city's sporting specialty.
But the sports sector lawmaker says it's a good opportunity to foster exchanges between Hong Kong and other mainland cities. Jackie Lin with more.
The 15th National Games is about 3 years away, to be jointly held by Guangdong, Hong Kong and Macau. While authorities have yet to confirm how the three sides would divvy up the different sport events, Winfried Engelbrecht-Bresges, CEO of the Hong Kong Jockey Club, revealed the equestrian events won't be hosted in the SAR.
Unfortunately, due to health status and quarantine reasons, we cannot have the equestrian games in Hong Kong.
That's despite the SAR's ample experiences in staging horse-related races and showpieces, including equestrian events in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Still, the Jockey Club has established practices of the so-called equine disease-free zone. That has allowed horses to cross the border between Hong Kong and the club's Chonghua racecourse in Guangzhou amid the pandemic. But the Jockey Club CEO says it would take at least 5 years for such disease-free travel bubbles to run across the entire country.
The National Games, you come from all over the country. You don't know what the health status of these different horses is. So therefore, it would be it's mission impossible in this period of time.
When asked if it's disappointing news, lawmaker Kenneth Fogg, who's also the vice president of the Sports Federation and Olympic Committee of Hong Kong, believes it offers a different opportunity for the SAR.
For the Jockey Club, for example, have been working very hard in the Guangdong province to help grow the equine industry. Not just horses themselves, but the technical know-how, the vets. So it might be a blessing in disguise, not being in Hong Kong. It will help other cities grow too. We can make GBA really an equine center for the world in the future.
Kenneth Fogg also revealed out of the 35 sports events in the National Games, Hong Kong is applying for 6 to 8 events as well as the opening and closing ceremony to be held in the SAR. But he said it's not sure yet when the decision will be out. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching.
Good night.